So thank you for joining me, Mark. Can you please let people know what you do and how long you've been working in the education sector for?
Yeah, hi James. So I'm Mark Brown. I work with TG Escapes. We produce timber frame modular buildings mainly in the education sector. About over 80% of our business is with the education sector. And I've been working with them for about 12 years now. I work as a consultant. I oversee the marketing and offer strategic direction to the business.
Thank you. And also, I want to say a big thank you to you and the team, because you've been with us for the last 12 years, exhibiting and sponsoring the event and help grow the event, and truly see that as a partnership with you. So a big thank you to you and the team. So we'll jump right in with the first question, which is kindly being left by Sharon Wright. Sharon asks, if you could wave your magic wand, what would be the one thing we could do that would make the most impact in the sector?
Yes, thank you, Sharon, for that question. That's an interesting question. The one thing with the magic wand, I think what we would like to see is frameworks that actually add value for the end users, rather than add the administrative burden and professional fees that they seem to do. So something, we're an SME, and what we find as a small business is that the administrative burden of frameworks is something which is just too much for a small company. We're 30 people strong, and I think that this discourages SMEs in general, which I fear overall stifles innovation. And the additional levels of bureaucracy seems to us to divert funding from the added value which would actually improve the outcomes for end users. So many times we've seen the process to ensure value for money has led to projects sort of not going forward due to professional fees and time wasted. And it seems to me there needs to be a rethink about how frameworks actually work to really encourage the innovation and the small businesses trying to operate in the sector.
Thank you, Mark, and Sharon, thank you for the questions. Now, obviously, we've been working with you for a number of years, and I've seen some of the great projects that you've worked on and delivered as a business. But in terms of from your perspective and that of the team, which projects are you most proud of, and why?
So two of our more recent projects we're very proud of. There's one project at Beacon Hill, which is a special school, where we've just completed a 10 classroom provision for students with profound and multiple learning difficulties. And that's it's one of our largest projects to date, and will have huge impact for that school, we hope. Similarly, we've just finished a hub for the visually impaired at Woking High School, which is a great example of an SEND provision in a mainstream space, which again we're very proud of. And then finally, although we haven't actually built it, we have designed a biophilic single entry primary school from early years, which we're again particularly proud of, because it demonstrates that using modern methods of construction, using natural materials, timber, you can actually produce a really supporting natural biophilic environment, actually very cost effectively. We're looking now to take that project and make it real. But yeah, those are three examples of projects in the last 12 months or so, which we're really proud of.
I'm sure that anyone that wants to find out more, you'll probably be showcasing those or talking about those on your stand at Education Estates. So do pop by and visit Mark and the team if you're in Manchester in October with us. So on to our next question. Over the next year or so, what do you think are the biggest challenges the education sector faces, and why?
So from our experience, I would say there are two systemic challenges. Firstly, satisfying the demand for SEND spaces, and secondly, decarbonising the estate. So if we take SEND first, I think overall we really need to be looking to accommodate the growing number of students wherever possible in the mainstream schools, because this is a far more inclusive approach. And when you look at the data, the biggest category of demand is from students with ASD, and the more we can keep those students in the mainstream, the less stigma they face, And the more normalised the condition will also become for others. And I think that's a challenge for everybody working in the education estate sector. We recently hosted a roundtable with representatives from local authorities, specialist schools, SEND consultants, and what was clear is that there's not only a shortage of space, but a shortage of qualified teaching staff. So both these issues need to be addressed. We're working to provide quick and cost-effective solutions for the built environment, but of course that'll be of no use if there aren't the staff to deliver the provision. So I think the growing demand in SEND is a really big challenge. Secondly, the drive to net zero. I think the drive to a net zero estate, I think, is stalling a bit. And obviously, everybody talk about lack of funding, and lack of funding means that schools, they have other priorities, so they really need sufficient additional support in order to be able to decarbonise. And when it comes to new builds, this really needs an increase in the initial capital outlay to pay for the technology required to achieve operational and lifetime net zero. But due to short-term funding pressures, we sometimes see this technology and these solutions being value engineered out, which is totally understandable when schools are struggling to manage budgets. But what it does mean is that we're effectively kicking the challenge of achieving the 2050 objective down the road. So I think it's saving up a problem for the future.
I think thank you for that. And as a business, you don't just sort of operate with sort of projects in the DfE and others in that system. You look at the private sector as well. Is the kind of independent school sort of system also facing those same challenges at the moment, do you think?
In terms of the growing demand for SEND, yes, and decarbonising the estate, yes, they are. I think they come at it from a slightly different angle. So when it comes to the decarbonising challenge, for them, actually, it plays a role in helping support their brand. So it's in some ways it's a much more current opportunity for them to demonstrate their sustainable credentials by investing in net zero sustainable buildings, because it adds real value to their brand and their offering. So in some ways it's an easier decision. It's a more commercially obvious decision, which is less easy in the public sector.
Thank you for that. And it's an area that, in particular, Education Estates this year, we really want to appeal to more independent schools to come engage with the event and see the content and offer, and exhibitors like yourselves and others that can help them on that journey to net zero and other challenges they face. So no, thank you for that. On the flip side, what do you think are the biggest opportunities then in the education sector currently, and why?
Well, you might expect me to say we think there's a huge opportunity to provide to create sustainable and repeatable solutions to support the sector, and MMC really has an opportunity to be the solution of choice to provide commercial quality and program benefits to clients, but also importantly, it has to provide buildings which are inspiring for staff and students and supports their learning and development. In particular, we're firm believers that a more biophilic estate, which better connects students to nature, would be impactful for students and staff. The use of more timber, designing for natural light, easy access to the outdoors, it can provide a very different type of setting. And what we're seeing is that modern life, technology and screen time, along with the huge post-COVID effect on mental health, means that anything we in the providing the built environment in education can do to provide a more nurturing environment is a great opportunity to prevent the mental health crisis spiraling out of control. So I think for us, a move towards more biophilic natural environments could have a big benefit in the long term in just helping to keep the mental health crisis within some sort of check.
And I think in terms of actually seeing the buildings you've delivered, and they're very sympathetic between the outside, inside, and really do have that that look and feel that you would expect of a company like yours and those kind of bits. So do check out TG Escapes buildings. They are really cool, and you can find them on the website or come to Education Estates and meet Mark and the team there. Now, I'm going to give a bit of a plug now for Education Estates. Apologies. In your opinion, what do attendees get out of an event such as Education Estates? And in particular, I'd quite like to work with yourself and the team and how we can get more from the independent sector coming. But what would be kind of the key takeaways, or what would attendees get from coming to Education Estates in October, in your opinion?
So I think Education Estates, it's a great opportunity to see what others are doing with their estate strategies. You know, a lot of the people attending, you spend your time kind of head down dealing with the day-to-day challenges that you're facing. And I think it can be reassuring to see others facing the same challenges and to spend some time with them. But also importantly, it can be really stimulating to find new ideas and solutions. So I think it's always good to get out of the working environment and actually give your brain some time out for creativity and new thinking. And you certainly get that at Education Estates, that feeling of not being alone and kind of everybody sharing the same problems and actually having some real ideas and solutions for those problems presented, and meeting people who are working with those solutions, I think is a real benefit for attendees.
Perfect, thank you. And now you're well known in the sector and have helped put together the programme for a number of years now as part of our advisory group. Can you share something about yourself that the audience may not already know about you?
For a lot of this audience, you may not remember a classic comedy called Dad's Army, and one of the actors in that comedy was a guy called Clive Dunn, who's no longer with us. He had a hit single called Grandad, and when he took that on tour around the country, I was one of the children singing with him in the background in the theatre on that song Grandad, which may have kindled my interest in the theatre, which I've been involved with ever since.
I did not know that, so thank you for sharing that, Mark. Now, my next conversation is with Shane Cryer from Saint-Gobain Ecovon. What question would you like me to ask Shane during our conversation with him?
So, question for Shane. So, Shane, you mentioned recently, you talk a lot about the testing you've been doing after projects have been completed and operational. Could you share a bit more about this, the sort of the key learning points you have so far from the testing you've been doing, and why it's so important to do this?
I will put that question to him. And thank you very much, Mark, for joining us, and have a good day.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.